The desperate arrival, the warning klaxons aboard the Zelkan refugee ship Eternal. Hope had been screaming for the past 6 hours. Commander Vexhai pressed his four-fingered hand against the cracked viewport, watching sparks cascade from damaged hull plating as his vessel limped toward the distant human space station. Behind him, 3 more Zelkan ships struggled to maintain formation. Their once-proud hulls, scarred by plasma burns and meteor impacts from their desperate flight across half the galaxy. "Commander, we're losing life support on Deck 7, reported. His chief engineer, Kethma, her usually pristine silver scales now dulled with exhaustion. "The quantum drives are operating at 12% efficiency. We won't make another jump." Vexhai's throat sacs deflated in resignation. After fleeing the Crimson Dominion's relentless expansion for 8 standard months, his people had finally reached the edge of known space, where rumors spoke of a young species called humans who might offer sanctuary. The Zelkans had nowhere else to go. Every other civilized world had either fallen to the Dominion or closed their borders in terror. "Open a channel to the human station," Vexhai ordered, straightening his ceremonial command robes despite their torn condition. "Let's hope these humans are more welcoming than the Confederation was." The communication array crackled to life, and a distinctly alien voice responded in accented but clear galactic standard. "Unknown vessels, this is Frontier Station Prometheus. You appear to be in distress. Please state your intentions and condition. This is Commander Vexhai of the Zelkan Refugee Fleet," he replied, pride warring with desperation in his voice. "We seek temporary sanctuary and repairs. We can pay with rare minerals or technological exchanges. We have wounded aboard and limited life support remaining." There was a pause that seemed to stretch for eternity. Then the human voice returned, warmer somehow. "Copy that, Commander. We're clearing docking bays for your fleet. Medical teams are standing by. Welcome to human space." Vexhai felt his throat sacs expand with surprise. No questions about their politics, no demands for security. Deposits, no lengthy bureaucratic procedures. Just simple, immediate help. As the Eternal Hope approached the massive station, Vexhai was struck by its unusual design. Unlike the elegant, flowing architecture favored by most advanced species, the human station appeared to be a collection of different modules, some clearly newer than others, connected by a maze of tubes and external frameworks. It looked almost improvised, yet somehow perfectly functional. "Sir," called out his navigation officer, "I'm reading massive energy signatures from the station. Their power output is comparable to a small moon." "Interesting," Vexhai murmured. "What kind of species builds like this?" The docking procedure went smoothly, guided by precise human controllers who seemed to anticipate every need. As the airlock sealed and atmosphere equalized, Vexhai prepared to meet their hosts. The first human he encountered was a woman named Sarah Chen, according to her utilitarian jumpsuit. She was smaller than he'd expected, barely reaching his chest, with dark hair tied back efficiently and wearing a tool belt that looked like it could repair half a starship. "Commander Vexhai, I presume," she said, extending her hand in what he recognized as the human greeting gesture. "I'm Chief Engineer Chen. We've already started preliminary scans of your ships. Looks like you've been through hell." "The Crimson Dominion," Vexhai explained, accepting the handshake and noting the surprising strength in her grip. "They've been expanding across the Orion Arm for 2 years. Any world that resists is glassed from orbit. We're all that remains of the Zelkan colonies." Sarah's expression hardened. "We've heard rumors. Bastards, every one of them." "Well, You're safe here. Let's get your people sorted and your ships fixed. Over the next several hours, Vex-High watched in growing amazement as human teams swarmed over his damaged vessels. These weren't just repair crews, they were artists working with metal and energy. Where Zelkan engineers would carefully replace damaged components with identical parts, humans seemed to improve everything they touched. Your quantum resonance chamber was damaged, explained a young human technician named Marcus to Kethma. But instead of just fixing it, we've recalibrated the harmonics to increase efficiency by 30%. Also installed some backup systems so this kind of damage won't leave you stranded again. Kethma's scales shimmered with confusion, but the modifications, they're not standard. How do you know they'll work? Marcus grinned. Because we tested them on our own ships first. Humans don't really do standard. If something can be improved, we improve it. As Vex-High toured the station, he began to understand what made humans different. Their technology wasn't the most advanced he'd seen. The ethereal consortium had more elegant energy systems, and the mechanical hegemony produced more durable materials. But humans seemed to take the best ideas from everywhere and combine them in ways no one else had thought of. In the medical bay, human doctors worked alongside their own healing specialists, sharing techniques and learning from each other with an enthusiasm that bordered on obsession. Human children, apparently allowed to roam freely through non-restricted areas, peppered Zelkan refugees with questions about their homeworld, their culture, their technology, absorbing information like small sponges. Your species is remarkably curious, Vex-High observed to Station Commander Roberts, a graying human with scars on his hands that spoke of years working with dangerous machinery. Roberts chuckled. Curiosity's what got us to the stars, Commander. That and a healthy dose of stubbornness. We don't like being told something can't be done. That evening, as Vex-High reviewed repair reports in his temporary quarters, he was amazed by what he read. Not only were the humans fixing everything damaged in their flight, they were upgrading systems, reinforcing weak points, and installing new technologies that shouldn't exist yet. When he questioned Sarah Chen about it, her answer was typically, "Human, look, Commander, we know the Dominion's out there. We've been watching their expansion, studying their tactics, preparing. Your ships are getting our latest defensive upgrades because when you leave here, you're going to need them. And because it's the right thing to do. But the cost, the resources, the time," Vex-High protested. "We're strangers to you. Why help us so extensively?" Sarah's expression grew serious. "Because today it's your people running from monsters. Tomorrow it might be ours. We believe in helping each other, Commander. It's what separates us from the things we fight against." On the third day, proximity alarms began wailing throughout the station. Vex-High rushed to the command center, his heart sinking as he recognized the sensor signatures appearing at the system's edge. 50 ships bearing the crimson hull markings of the Dominion's war fleet, led by the distinctive dreadnought Merciless. "Dawn, they followed us," he whispered, despair flooding through him. "I've doomed your people." Commander Roberts was surprisingly calm as he studied the tactical display. "How long do we have?" 6 hours until they reach the station, reported a human tactical officer. Their commander is already broadcasting surrender demands. Vex-High turned to Roberts, ready to order his people back to their damaged ships to flee deeper into the unknown. But the human commander was smiling, and that smile sent chills down Vex-High's spine. "Sarah," Roberts called to his chief engineer, "how long until our guest ships are ready?" "Another 4 hours for full combat readiness," she replied without looking up from her console. The new armor plating needs time to bond properly. Combat readiness. Vex High's voice cracked. Commander Roberts, the Dominion fleet outguns your station 50-1. We should run while we can. Roberts turned to face him, and Vex High saw something in the human's eyes that he'd never encountered before. Not madness, not desperation, but a cold, calculating determination that spoke of a species that had climbed to the top of their world's food chain through sheer, unrelenting will. Commander Vex Guy Roberts said quietly, "You're about to learn why humanity has survived every challenge our little planet ever threw at us, and why the Crimson Dominion picked the wrong species to threaten." The human's smile widened, revealing teeth that Vexed High suddenly realized were designed for tearing flesh. For the first time since meeting these helpful, curious, seemingly peaceful beings, he remembered that humans were predators. "All station personnel to battle stations," Roberts announced over the intercom. "This is not a drill. Initiate protocol. Omega authorization, Robert Southweather 77. Throughout the station, blast shields began sliding into place. Sections that Vex High had assumed were civilian quarters reconfigured themselves, revealing weapon emplacements and armor plating. The seemingly improvised station architecture suddenly made perfect sense as layers of disguised defenses came online. "You've been preparing for this," Vex High realized. "We've been preparing for worse than this," Roberts replied. "The question is, Commander, do you and your people want to run again, or would you like to help us teach the Dominion why it's a bad idea to chase refugees into human space?" As Vex High looked around the command center, watching humans calmly prepare for a battle they should have no hope of winning, he realized he was about to witness something unprecedented. These young, curious, helpful humans were about to reveal why they'd spread across the galaxy so quickly, why their technology advanced at such an impossible rate, and why other species spoke of them in hushed, respectful tones. He was about to see humanity at war. The awakening the Crimson Dominion fleet approached with the confidence of conquerors who had never known defeat. Admiral Kextar stood on the bridge of the merciless dawn, his chitinous exoskeleton gleaming under the command center's red battle lighting. In 2 years of expansion, not a single world had successfully resisted the Dominion's might. This human station would be no different. "Open a channel to the station," he commanded, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. "Let's give these primitives a chance to surrender before we demonstrate the price of defiance." The response came not from the station commander, but from what appeared to be a human child. No more than 12 standard years old by Kextar's estimation. The child sat in what looked like a pilot's seat, wearing a headset that seemed too large for her small head. "Hi there, Admiral Kextar," the child said cheerfully, somehow knowing his name and rank. "I'm Lucy. Station Command asked me to talk to you because I'm really good with languages, and they wanted to make sure you understood them perfectly." Kextar's compound eyes narrowed in confusion. "Child, where are your military leaders? Surely they don't send younglings to negotiate surrender." Lucy tilted her head, and her smile took on a quality that made Kextar's chitin crawl. "Oh, we're not surrendering, Admiral. We're giving you one chance to leave our space peacefully. After that, well, my mom says I shouldn't use those words on an open channel." "Absurd," Kextar snarled. "Your primitive station cannot hope to stand against 50 warships of the Dominion fleet." "You're right," Lucy agreed, her tone remaining conversational. "Our station probably couldn't fight 50 of your ships. Good thing we don't have to." Before Kexthar could ask what she meant. His sensor operator let out a sound of confusion. Admiral, I'm reading massive energy buildups throughout the system, not from the station, from everywhere else. On the tactical display, what had appeared to be asteroids, derelict ships, and space debris began shedding their camouflage. Mining platforms revealed themselves as heavily armed fortress stations. Cargo haulers dropped their disguises to show sleek warships bristling with weapons. Most shocking of all, 3 of the system's moons began moving, their surfaces opening, to reveal massive weapon arrays and fighter bays. Impossible, Kexthar whispered. Our intelligence showed this system was lightly defended. Lucy's voice returned over the com, still cheerful but now carrying an edge that reminded Kexthar of his own predatory ancestors. Admiral, humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years before we ever left our planet. We've learned that the best defense is the one your enemy never sees coming. The first shots came not from the obvious weapons platforms, but from what had appeared to be navigation beacons scattered throughout the system. These revealed themselves as long-range missile launchers, sending clouds of smart projectiles toward the Dominion fleet. As Kexthar's ships began evasive maneuvers, they found themselves herded into specific areas of space that had seemed randomly chosen. All ships, maintain formation and return fire, Kexthar ordered. These humans cannot have more firepower than us. He was right. Individual human weapons weren't more powerful than Dominion technology. But as the battle progressed, Kexthar realized that raw firepower was only one element of warfare, and humanity had elevated all the others to an art form. The human fleet didn't fight, like any military force he'd encountered. Instead of formal battle lines and predictable tactics, they moved like a living organism. Ships that had been civilian minutes before now demonstrated combat capabilities that shouldn't exist. A luxury yacht somehow cloaked itself and appeared behind Dominion lines, deploying boarding pods filled with human marines. A scientific research vessel used its deep space sensors to coordinate attacks with surgical precision. But it was the humans themselves that truly unsettled Kexthar. In every previous conquest, enemy crews had shown fear, desperation, or resignation as defeat became inevitable. These humans fought with an enthusiasm that bordered on joy. Their communications chatter was filled with laughter, excitement, and creative profanity as they adapted to each new challenge the Dominion presented. "Sir," reported his tactical officer, "the enemy is using weapons I don't recognize. That cargo ship just fired what appears to be industrial mining charges, but they've been modified to burn through our shields." "And that passenger liner," added another officer, "it's launching what our computers identify as entertainment drones, but they're somehow disrupting our targeting systems." Kexthar watched in growing horror as his superior fleet was systematically dismantled by an enemy that refused to fight by any known rules. When one of his ships damaged its engines, instead of retreating to safety, the crew rammed it into a human defensive platform, expecting the sacrifice to clear a path for their comrades. The platform absorbed the impact, rotated 90 degrees, and kept firing. "Admiral," came an urgent report, "we're detecting massive quantum signatures from the third moon. They're charging something enormous." The moon's surface split open like a flower, revealing a weapon that dwarfed anything in the Dominion arsenal. Not a single massive cannon, but thousands of smaller ones arranged in perfect geometric patterns. The first salvo deleted 6 Dominion ships from existence. The second crippled twice that number. "All ships, emergency jump," Kexthar ordered, his earlier confidence shattered. "We're withdrawing from this system." Admiral Lucy's voice returned over the cum, now stripped of all pretense of childhood innocence. You came here hunting refugees. People who had lost everything and were just trying to survive. That was your first mistake. As Dominion ships began spinning up their jump drives, human vessels pressed their attack with renewed fury. These weren't warriors defending their territory. They were apex predators protecting their pack. Your second mistake, Lucy continued, was assuming that because we're new to the galaxy, we're weak. Humans didn't get to the stars by being nice, Admiral. We got here by being the most dangerous thing on our planet, and then deciding the planet wasn't big enough. Commander Vexhai watched the battle from Prometheus Station's command center, his 3 hearts beating so rapidly he thought they might burst. The Zelkan military had always prided itself on honor, tactics, and superior technology. This wasn't warfare as he understood it. This was systematic destruction carried out with scientific precision and artistic flair. How, he whispered to Commander Roberts, who was coordinating the battle with calm efficiency. How did you prepare for this so quickly? Roberts glanced at him with that predatory smile humans seem to specialize in. Commander, we've been preparing for this our entire history. Every human child plays war games. Every human adult has read about famous battles. We've been studying conflict resolution through superior firepower since we figured out how to throw rocks more accurately. On the tactical display, the remaining Dominion ships completed their emergency jumps and vanished into hyperspace. The debris field they left behind painted a clear picture of humanity's capabilities when properly motivated. Third mistake, Admiral. Lucy's voice followed the retreating fleet, was thinking you could run far enough that we wouldn't find you. Humans are persistence hunters. We don't give up. We don't forget. And we really don't like bullies. In the aftermath, as human salvage crews began clearing the debris and rescue teams searched for survivors, Vexhai found himself in conversation with Sarah Chen. The chief engineer was directing repairs to battle damage while simultaneously analyzing captured Dominion technology. Your people, Vexhai said, still processing what he'd witnessed. They're not what they seem, are they? Sarah looked up from a piece of exotic armor plating, her expression thoughtful. Commander, every species in the galaxy seems to think humans are either harmless explorers or mindless aggressors. The truth is more complicated. We're builders and destroyers, creators and conquerors, protectors and predators. It all depends on what the situation requires. The galaxy sees us as young and inexperienced, she continued, which is useful. Let them underestimate us while we learn everything they're willing to teach. Let them think we're just lucky or stubborn while we figure out how to do everything they do, but better. Vexhai felt a chill run down his spine. What are you saying? Sarah's smile was genuinely warm, but her eyes held depths that spoke of a species with ambitions beyond current imagination. Commander, the Crimson Dominion has been expanding across the galaxy for 2 years. Humanity has been watching them. For 18 months, studying their tactics, analyzing their technology, and preparing countermeasures. Today wasn't us defending against an unexpected attack. Today was a field test. The implications hit Vexhai like a physical blow. You let them come here. You knew they would follow us. We knew they might, Sarah corrected. And we were ready either way. Your people get the repairs and upgrades they need. The Dominion learns that human space is off limits, and we get combat data on their capabilities. Everyone wins except the bullies. As the Zelkan fleet prepared to depart 3 days later, their ships now faster, stronger, and more capable than they'd ever been. Vexai found himself both grateful to and terrified of humanity. These beings had shown his people incredible kindness, while simultaneously demonstrating military capabilities that redefined what was possible. "Where will you go now?" Commander Roberts asked as they completed final departure protocols. "The neutral zone," Vexai replied. "There are others like us, refugees and survivors. We'll find them, help them, rebuild what we can." Roberts nodded approvingly. "Good. If you ever need assistance, you know where to find us. And Commander, when word spreads about what happened here, make sure people understand the important part, which is..." Robert's smile carried the warmth of genuine friendship and the cold promise of absolute destruction for anyone who threatened those under human protection. "We don't start fights, Commander, but we sure as hell finish them." As the fleet jumped away from human space, Vexai knew the galaxy had changed forever. Word would spread about the species that had turned an entire star system into a trap, the beings who treated war like a science and peace like an art form. The Crimson Dominion would think twice before expanding toward human territory, and other aggressors would learn to avoid the sectors where curious, helpful, terrifyingly competent humans had decided to make their homes. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy not with grand declarations or diplomatic ceremonies, but with the simple message that some lines should never be crossed. They had taken the measure of the galaxy's greatest threat and found it wanting. The age of human expansion had begun, and the universe would never be the same.